Sup nerds, Coder SV3 here, and today we're doing a tutorial on how to work with multiple classes. It's quite a simple concept, and I realize some of my tutorials have been all over the place, but I feel like it's important for the future tutorials, of course, that we explain how to work with multiple classes. Alright, so let's give an example. Say there's a restaurant, right? Like a fast food restaurant. Um, so we're going to create a class called employee. As you can see here, the class has been created. Let me just zoom in a bit. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so public class employee. The first thing you want to do, not class, the first thing you want to do when creating a new class is have a constructor, which is basically this. It technically is a method, but not really, since a constructor is what allows you to instantiate an object. So public employee. But a class cannot really be used unless, well, at least in this example, it cannot be used without some data fields. So private string name and private int ID. So of course we have a default constructor, but we can also take it further and make we can take it further and make another constructor. And unlike this one right here, that's just a default constructor, but here you can actually initialize some of the data fields without having to use getter and setters methods, which I'll show later. String name int ID. So this dot name equals name, and this dot ID equals ID. Oh, and if you don't know what the this does, well, what the this keyword does is, if we take out ID and name, it's just dead code, because you're just assigning a parameter to a parameter, and you're not really modifying anything or assigning anything to anything, or assigning anything here to a variable. So using the this keyword refers specifically to the data fields we specified up here. So public employee. Now, if you just want to use the default constructor, again, it depends on your situation. You're going to want to do setters and getters. So public void set name string name this dot name equals name. Essentially, it fulfills, if you're using this constructor, the setters and getters fulfill the purpose of this constructor, the parameterized constructor, as I call it. Public string get name. Now this one doesn't take any parameters, since you already set it over here. Taking a parameter wouldn't really be useful, since it would just leave room for overwriting. Return name. Now the getters are only supposed to be used after the setters, but setters can also be used to overwrite. It all depends, really. It's a modifier too, because sometimes you can call these mutators and accessors. Public void set ID int ID. Same thing as before. Public ID get ID. Oh, okay. Int, not ID. Oh, okay. Return ID. Those two ends. And if you want to take it a step further, what you can also do is create a method called toString, and of course it takes the string type, and you do return get name plus get ID. That's better in the long run since some variables won't always be accessible. Alright, now let's go over and create a driver class. I'm just going to call it MEMP driver. Simple enough name. Now, never forget your main method. Public static void main string args, and then you just use. Okay, now you can create your constructor. So employee emp1 equals new employee, and employee emp2 equals new employee. Now here we're going to use the other constructor. Now you can really put whatever name you want in here. And like me, since I've been playing a lot of Yakuza Kiwami recently, if you've been watching me on Twitch, I'm just gonna put Reina here, since you know she owns Reina. And then as for an ID, I think we're just gonna put 01 since owner. And then who's employee 1? Well, we can dictate that ourselves. So employee 1 set name. I don't think anyone else works with it other than Reina. Wait, no, Yumi did. I think you did. Set name Yumi. M2 set ID. This is really bothering me. Give me a sec. There we go. That's much better. M2 set ID 02. There we go. Nice and organized. What we can do next is do emp1.toString, and we're going to get Rena's information. And if we do emp2.toString, we'll also get we'll get Yumi's information. In order to get the toString methods to work, what you're going to need to do is do system.out print for these two. You can't just call toString, because it's very important not to forget that. So now you see we have Rena 1 and Yumi 2. But suppose that, suppose Yumi got sick one day and Kiryu's just free. So we do emp2 set name Kiryu emp2 that's set ID 03. Now if you reprint, you're gonna see that Yumi has been replaced. Oh, hold on. You're gonna see that Yumi was replaced with Kiryu. Anyway, that's about it. As you can see, you can still modify other objects even though they've already been printed, and we can even say that Reina, if she wants to take a day off, maybe Majima can do something. So emp1.set name Majima emp2.set ID 666. I don't know. Sys out. Majima's kind of crazy, kind of a devil. Sys out. Oh wait, hold on. I made Kiryu the devil. emp1. Sys out emp1 to string image kiru 3 majima 666. Okay, so as you can see, you can still modify things even though you don't use directly. Even if you don't use the default constructor, you can still modify one with a parameterized constructor. Well, I hope the tutorial was useful for you. If you have any feedback for me, by all means, leave it for me. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on the bell for notifications. And if you want to catch me on Twitch, I'm there usually around 3 in the afternoon during the weekdays. This is Coder, signing off. Peace.